Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. Nigel Farage is telling the Reform Party's donors that at the next election, the Reform Party is going to be working with the Conservatives, which confirms what I've always been saying, that the Reform Party is not real change. They are just more of the same. Nigel Farage has already confirmed that several of his new party donors are just the donors that the Tories used to have, which means that politically speaking, they're working for the same people. The same people are paying them to do the same shit. Now, of course, Nigel Farage has denied this, but listen to his actual denial. He says people hear what they want to hear, which isn't really a proper denial because it effectively admits, yes, I said some stuff about the Tories, which allowed the people in that room to believe that we were going to work with them. And this shows how dishonest Nigel Farage has been, because for ages he's been calling Labour and the Conservatives the uni-party. Like, there's no real difference between the two of them. Meanwhile, he's been taking money from the same people that used to fund the Conservatives. 2 of his 5 MPs are simply Conservatives that jumped ship. And now he's telling the people that fund his party that he's going to work with the Conservatives at the next election. And don't forget, he's done this before. In 2019, he worked with the Tories to help Boris Johnson win the election and deliver Brexit. He has literally tweeted, "I helped the Tories win that election in order to deliver Brexit and prevent a second referendum." But he's also said that if there was a second referendum,
Remain wins that referendum and wins it every single time.
Which means that Nigel Farage has already proven that he's willing to work with the Tories in ways that undermine the wishes of the British people. Because Farage doesn't actually care about democracy. Of course, he pretends to. For years, he's been arguing for a new voting system where all votes would count equally, namely proportional representation. Because when he was the leader of parties that weren't doing so well in the polls, like UKIP or the Reform Party a few years ago, that would have benefited him. But recently he was asked about that.
Can you tell us what your position is on electoral reform, and do you still back proportional representation?
On electoral reform, I've always favoured AV+.
Now here it gets a bit technical because alternative voting is where the voter gets to make multiple choices, like a first choice and a second choice, which is better than what we have now, whereby if your first choice doesn't come first in your town, then your vote is simply thrown away. But it still gives a disproportionate advantage to the parties that are leading the polls, which Nigel Farage has been for the last year or so. So he only backed a fair voting system when it benefited him, but as soon as he started leading the polls, he's ditched that. But now that the Reform Party is plummeting in the polls, because in the last few weeks it's come out that pretty much everybody that went to school with Nigel Farage says he was a full-on Nazi, we're suddenly hearing reports that Nigel Farage wants to work with the Tories again. Can you see how Nigel Farage sees British democracy as simply a toy for him to play with? And the thing that pisses me off is this idea that Nigel Farage and the Reform Party represent change when the Tories have been dancing to Nigel Farage's tune for the past 10 years blows my brain. Because Brexit is the biggest policy that has shaped British politics for the last 10 years. And David Cameron only called the referendum because he was scared that if he didn't do that, he would lose votes to UKIP, whose whole thing was leaving the EU. So for 8.5 years of the Tories, they were mainly doing what Nigel Farage wanted them to do. And Keir Starmer's Labour has been dancing to Nigel Farage's tune as well, by still supporting Brexit, by saying all this islands of strangers stuff about immigration. So the idea that Nigel Farage and the Reform Party represent a new direction for the country is simply fanciful. The fact that they're willing to work with the Tories again just proves that. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics. If Politics doesn't F you, have a great week.